Good evening. I'm Councilwoman Wyatt, the Councilwoman for the 1st District, and this is the Art, Culture, and History Committee meeting for May 13th, 2019. So welcome to everyone who's here and at home in our audience. We always try to say the mission of this committee, which is to promote, preserve, and rediscover Gary's unique history, culture, art, architecture, and natural environment. So having said that, we will go around the room for introductions, and as we always do, if you just say your name and who you represent, we'd appreciate that.
My name is Desiree Simpson, and I represent Live Arts Studio, an art and entrepreneurship organization located here in Gary's 6th District.
And that works mostly with youth, or is it all
mainly,
ages?
but
Okay.
we do work with all ages, adults and seniors included.
Okay, good, good. And then Ms. Brown?
Yes, Patricia Brown here, and I am representing the Gary Historical Preservation Commission. There's 8 commissioners that sit on that commission, and if I had it in front of me, I'd read all their names off so you would be familiar with them. And also representing Gary Historical and Cultural Society and the Gary Civic Symphony Orchestra that's overseen by the Cultural Society.
Thank you.
Okay. Ronald Cohen, I'm a member of this committee.
All right. So let's go to our minutes from the last meeting. I have the minutes from April 8th. Did everybody have a chance to review those? Okay, and if I could have a motion for their approval?
I so move.
Second?
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Same sign. Okay, so the minutes from April 8th, 2019 are approved as submitted. And the next thing on our agenda is pictorial history. Ron Cohen, could you give us an update on what's going on that publication?
Okay, the book, Gary, A Pictorial History, 3rd edition, was published last fall, 2018. Some copies have been distributed. There are still a number of copies left that are stored here in City Hall. However, I was informed today by the publisher that they have an additional 130 copies that were an overprinting that they want to sell at a reduced price. Now, the question is, what do we do with the 600 or so copies that are still left here at City Hall? We'll have to discuss that. We would, I think, like to get them distributed to the schools in Gary, maybe churches, civic organizations, and so on. The original idea was that they would be sold to make money back for the city, which helped fund the printing of the books. But maybe that's a little more difficult. But the book does exist, and it's a wonderful history in pictures of the city up to about 2016. So we would maybe discuss more how we can distribute, and Councilwoman Wyatt can update us on what she's doing
Sure.
to find out more what's going on. I don't know how we would pay for the additional copies that are now available. I asked the woman, called from the publisher, what do you do if you don't sell them? And it wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll scrap them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to just give them away.
Right.
We didn't know that they had 130 copies in addition to what we already purchased. So it's a wonderful book.
It is a really
And,
interesting book.
So we can do with it.
So right now, the 3rd edition of the Pictorial History of Gary is still on sale here at City Hall. One can purchase it for $25 by going to the finance department on the first floor and then paying for it, and then you can go to the council office and pick up a hardbound copy of it. It is really a fascinating book, well put together. Did you have a question, Ms. Simpson?
Does City Hall have a bookstore, or is there some type of an official bookstore which sells historical documentation or documentation related to the city of any kind?
We don't, the city does not have a specific bookstore or museum or anything where we would sell that. We did, the city did sell some copies to the Lake Street Gallery, so they're available. That's out in the Miller section. They're available there. And we also sold some to IUN bookstore. So those are available for purchase at the IUN bookstore. And we had talked about trying to get them out to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I guess we should follow up on that, because I thought it would be a good addition to their little souvenir shop, because it is very well done. So I will check on that. In the meantime, I've got, I sent an email to the mayor and to the controller and to Lilosa Burns, who does communications, asking, reminding them that we have this inventory of books, and requesting permission to transfer those to the schools or other institutions. So we'll see, what the response is there.
Could Lilosa put those on the website? I mean, could there be a dedicated page in the city's website for not just the book, but just souvenirs in general, just to get just to make the marketplace a little bit more accessible?
That's a good idea.
And for those who are in the area can pick them up, or those who are not can pay whatever the additional cost is for postage to mail out. So I would, I would think that would be a great way to get information to others rather than coming to the office downstairs.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, dedicated page on the website for the book and any other items. I know that.
Other items, maps of the city, just.
I don't think there are any other items.
I'm sorry?
There are no other items for sale.
Well, if there's a souvenir shop over at the convention center, those images could be taken of those and place them on the website for sale.
But there's nothing there for Gary.
Yeah,
And that's been one of our issues,
Yeah.
that you
The
can't find
souvenir
anything
shop? There's nothing for Gary?
at the Gary Visitors Bureau.
Well, that's
Related
what.
to Gary.
Well, then the Visitors Bureau should be another source.
Okay, so let me get that.
Right, but there's nothing else
Visitor.
that you can purchase that relates to Gary.
Well, one could, if you.
Unless you go on eBay, and there's a lot of stuff on eBay.
Well, I'm
but
just suggesting that if
It should be.
if I were in Boston
Yes.
and I wanted to, want to find out more about the city, where do I go? Should I come here and go downstairs to the first floor, or can I look at a website
Right.
and do my shopping there?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm just simply saying we can place information for sale, availability, et cetera, on the World Wide Web. And it not be where someone who's not in the city, in the area, has to come in.
Yes.
I should be able to go out on my website, and if
Right.
I want to get the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., I should be able to go there, purchase some items.
And maybe if there's a website for the Lake County Visitors Bureau, well, they would have it on theirs, but I was thinking we could maybe link them up to different
Exactly.
organizations.
There needs to be one for the art, culture, and history of Gary. That should be a site.
And that's what we're trying to do with the land company building, the one right across the street on Third and Third Avenue.
Yeah.
We're trying to get it functional so that we can open the museum again. Hopefully it will this year. We're working real hard. Well, that's the Gary Historical and Cultural Society.
Yes.
Up until this point, we've been on hold, just trying to get everything going that we should have available to the general public.
Okay.
Once that takes place, of course, his book and anything else.
Well, the only other things would be these books on neighborhoods in Gary.
Right,
Exactly.
those are
History.
good, those are good.
That would be great.
Dolly's, Millender's books. There's one on Miller, Early Miller. There are a couple for the East Side,
Yes.
but there's no where you can find these
Exactly.
easily.
Right.
Exactly, and so.
But that's the only other thing that would be.
Whatever
Available.
Right.
the items, the purchase items are, they should not be tucked away, boxed up somewhere.
Right.
They need to be available. They
Right.
have to get out.
I know
Right.
at one time they were available at Indiana University in the bookstore.
That could be a site, but if,
Accessibility.
but if it's mentioned in the
Yeah, the
website,
Exactly.
others may say, oh, if you don't want to get it here and you're in
Just-
town, you can
yeah.
go
Right.
here, you can go
Right.
here,
Right.
you can go
Right, they're
and
always-
get it.
But we should get that on the website. Now, I can talk to Lilo getting that information out. I think that's a great idea. And
Yes.
I'm thinking there are some other books. Remember that there's Swedish immigrants to Miller that, what was his name, Ken Svengalis wrote?
No, Svengalis did the Gary pictorial history. The other, not the one we're discussing, another pictorial history of Gary.
But then he did another book just recently.
No, that's
that
Ken
yellow-
Schoon.
Oh, that's Ken Schoon, okay.
And Schoon does the one on the Swedish. But
Okay,
it's not just Gary, it's Northwest
Yeah.
Indiana.
yeah.
But there is no bookstore in Gary, except IUN, and they don't do a lot of this. So nobody has a stock of these books that we're discussing right now.
Mhm.
The Svengalis book is not available anywhere around here.
Is it out of print too?
I don't know, it was privately published,
Mhm.
so Ken might have more copies himself, but you can't buy one around here. The others, Dolly's books and these other books on the east side and so forth,
Mhm.
you can't find them
Mhm.
easily.
Well, if she's
That's the
written
problem.
it-
So if there was an entity here that actually had a stock of these books, and the city hall's not gonna buy them.
Mhm.
So Patricia's saying
Yeah.
maybe they could be sold if
If and when,
Yes.
Mhm.
but until then,
Just get
you
it
know,
out on
we
the
can
web.
probably
Available.
faster
Mhm.
than that opens up.
Right.
well, they could be all listed, right, which has not been done yet on the Gary website.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right, and so that it's about 10 books we're talking
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
But then you have to figure out where you can buy them.
Well, if
And-
it's a question of that, I would suggest that we think about how Amazon selects orders. I do orders also at my studio,
Mhm.
and when someone has an order, I
Oh.
fill it and I send it out. UPS,
Mhm.
USPS, FedEx, if it's an
Mhm.
overnight. That's all we have to do.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think
Well,
it's,
somebody has to do it.
well, whoever has the physical books,
Right,
or whoever's the caretaker of those books,
right.
needs to somehow get that order sheet and process this and send
So
it
who
out.
could that be is the question.
No,
So who
no, I'm
else could it be?
suggesting City Hall shouldn't do it. That's why I'm wondering why they would come here to buy in the first place.
Mhm.
Because that's where the books are. They don't exist
Yeah,
anywhere
they-
else, basically, essentially.
Okay, well, if they're not going to manage the movement of them outside of physical feet
Mhm.
coming to the window and wanting to
Mhm.
purchase a book,
Right.
then that may not be the best place for those books.
So is there, is there someone that we could, sell them to, so that they could sell them or for us? No?
Seldom.
No, I just need to.
Is there no way for an account to be tied directly to the sale of those books back to someone else, and then someone just processed the order.
Right, right. Okay. Well, if I'd be able to do something like that, as I said, I did put the controller on that email, so we can talk to her and see if there's a way.
Who's the account? The monies go directly to which
The
account?
finance department.
The finance department?
Mhm.
Well, if they have on their website items for purchase that are tied directly to the city,
Mhm.
that would just be one of those items.
Right,
And whoever orders it, individual would have to fill the order, but the funds will go into that account.
right. And they may, because I know they've got a Facebook page where the city has a Facebook page where they sell, you know, like T-shirts and
Oh,
stuff.
definitely. Well, then I think they could do
Oh, they sell
that.
T-shirts?
Right, the
If they
t-shirt.
sell
But
T-shirts,
I-
they could sell a book.
Right, right,
The
okay.
city sells T-shirts or private entities?
Well, I'm not-
I've done this over the years.
City or the mayor's office, because it's the I Heart Gary, you know,
Okay.
there's blue with the red
Yes,
heart
the
on
great
it.
heart.
Now they have
Mhm.
some different colors and stuff, but they're for purchase. So I can find out if we can get the book on that format too.
Mhm.
Well, there's also a Miller sweatshirt that's just available now.
Is that on the city's website as well?
No, it's just something local in Miller.
Right,
That's still Gary though, but it's not
Mm.
tied to the city, correct?
Right.
It's a
Mhm.
private
it's
entity.
private.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we're talking about something that would have to be tied directly to the city, so the funds would filter right into the city's
Right.
coffers from
Right.
the sale of those books.
Okay.
But it's
All right.
not difficult.
Right.
Difficult to do.
And I guess, you know, that is a good idea, and I can talk to Lolosa and get that set up, and I'll also try to talk to the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau to see if we can get some books out there.
Mhm. That would be
And
great.
then,
And even I don't know if there's a way to in Indianapolis, not that they're nearby or anything. They are, you know, a big city and they have a big visitors and welcoming center there.
right, I wonder, do we have a state museum down there or something?
Yes,
that we
sure.
could put?
State
Put
Art
those
Gallery, I
in
have
the-
a piece hanging in there.
Yeah, oh, that's great. Well, I wonder if it would be, do they have a gift shop and
They
stuff?
certainly do.
Maybe we could see if we could get the books down there.
Actually,
want
they
one.
have a nice bookstore. In fact, they have memorabilia from Madam C.J. Walker there, and they
Oh,
sell
yeah.
memorabilia books and gift shop there.
Is that a state
It's right
museum or what am
Well,
I looking?
that particular one is across the street from the museum.
Uh-huh,
It's been a while. It's been a couple of years since I was there, but I would.
well, I just say Indiana
Yeah,
Museum Gift Shop, and it's
Yes.
in Indianapolis.
exactly.
Okay,
And they do have some things be amongst their inventory, and I'm
Mhm.
sure they would appreciate having more of it.
mm-hmm, okay, I can check that. I wonder if Lane is interested in some books that they could use as, you know, for their members.
Well, I've talked to Brad.
Yeah.
He doesn't sell things though, so.
No, but Landmarks has ways to buy things on their website, you know, when they send out their newsletters, you know. Are you familiar with the Indiana
not.
Landmarks? It's a private organization, but its purpose is to preserve historic and architecturally significant structures in Indiana. And they have a pretty good following, and they have some money, and they're always trying to raise money.
Well, they have regional offices, and the one here is in Miller,
Okay.
on Lake Street. Brad Miller's the regional representative for Landmarks, and he has the book and everything. but-
Okay, so maybe
but
I'll,
you'd have to talk to Brad.
I'll check to him and see what is going on. Okay, so let's keep moving, because we'll,
And also, George Rogie is on the board of Historic Landmarks.
that's true. and George Rogie. Okay.
Along with the board of everything else that exists.
Right. All right, who's next? Pictorial history, we got that. Oh, Katie Hall Education Foundation, update from Juniper Hall. She had to leave unexpectedly. She did say that the DVD of the Katie Hall Foundation event was going to be shown on Channel 4 at, I got 10:23 a.m., 3:45 p.m., and 10:45 p.m. And Patricia, do you know exactly what portion of the event that would be,
No.
that was going to be shown?
No.
Okay.
Up
I-
until Thursday.
Up until Thursday, until this Thursday, which,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Which
13th.
is gonna be on that video. No,
So
I
that,
think it's quite lengthy.
okay. All right, and that's up until Thursday, what is that, May 17th? I think. So one can see the video of the Katie Hall Foundation event, and it was very well attended, and it
Yes.
had good speakers, and then they were able to go and place the memorial plaque on Van Buren Street because for the contribution of Katie Hall to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which is the only national holiday for an African American, which I think is interesting and at the same time not very progressive. So we need to work on that. Okay, that's all I have for Katie Hall. Gary Historic and Cultural Society, update from Patricia Brown.
Yes, all right. So I think we're gonna back up a little bit here and get the Gary Historic Preservation Commission up.
You want to do the Preservation Commission first? Okay.
Yes. Did she say she might be back, Commissioner Hall, or she didn't?
I
say?
don't think she probably will.
All right.
It didn't sound like it.
So as far as the Gary Historic Preservation Commission, we did have a guest speaker to come in, representing, well, we had 4 guest speakers representing Indiana American Water Tower. And they did a presentation dealing on the Indiana American Water Company and the water tower, and we were looking at the site because we had gotten word that the water tower was gonna be torn down and demolished, and it would take place soon as far as what we had known. So we moved right into action, trying to see who we could speak with as far as halting that demolition for taking place. And we end up contacting Mr. Justin Mount. And Mr. Mount, he was the individual with 3 other individuals coming into our preservation committee and doing a very wonderful report, and they showed a video, and it was very well presented to us about the information of the water and how the water is kept clean and sanitary for the citizens of Gary. And in the video, they showed the reservoir, how it was 4 different reservoirs that the water went into there on 7th and Madison in order to make sure that the process of filtration and keeping the water safe and clean for the citizens of Gary, Indiana. So it was very lengthy as far as that presentation. As a matter of fact, we almost devoted our whole meeting to them, but it was well presented. And during that time, they was showing us the erosion of the original water tower that was built in 1907 or round and about that year, and how there was erosion to the metal The water tower, of course, is steel and iron and different metals that's holding together. And the welding that was done, there was erosion around the welding. And I politely added to them that I used to be in the steel mills, and I had devoted 5 years to inland steel, and I was familiar with metal because of my, I worked in metallurgical, and we used to test the hardness, and I also worked the pickle line inspection, dealing with slivers in your metal. So I was sharing with them that he was sitting before a commission that was knowledgeable, even dealing with metal. And he was glad to hear that. So when we got further into the discussion, they were saying how they kept repeating themselves, talking about the safety of the water and trying to keep the water clean and whatnot, but also the safety of the general public around the water tower. But we know that the water tower is located there on 7th and, what's that street? Madison? And where it's located adjacent to a park. And the park, he did tell us that evening that the park was owned by the water tower company, which we did not know. We thought it was one of Gary's parks.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it was owned by the water tower company, and therefore, they had jurisdiction over it and as far as the safety and whatnot. So the water tower is really surrounded by a lot of land, and to our knowledge, it is a safe zone area. And so when they were saying about tearing it down, we had politely asked them, tearing it down would be a loss to Gary's history, being that it had been a structure in Gary since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. And our desire was to hold on to Gary's history, including their water tower, among other buildings at this time that has become a threat as far as demolition. Mm-hmm. And after we explained to him, because at one time we were under the understanding that they were gonna keep the the water tower, the antique water tower, mm-hmm. and build a new one. Mm-hmm. But then that's not what we heard at the meeting. At the meeting, it was they made it plain to us that it was their intentions to tear it down, and so it was a surprise to us. So here's the commissioners were sitting, and Indiana Water people were sitting there. I can't remember all their names or mm-hmm. what part of the company they represented, but I think we made them aware of what our job was and how, because they kept repeating, saying, well, 20 years ago nothing had been done about it, and they did whatever repair that they could have done, but mm-hmm. they didn't complete everything because we know it takes maintenance anytime you got water involved and whatnot up against steel. So they were saying that the maintenance that wasn't done should have been done, mm-hmm. and it was time to tear it down. So we told them, well, can you just empty it and leave it, mm-hmm. let the replica remain? Mm-hmm. And that was a challenge for them because from their officials, they did not have, and they couldn't validate that. So they're going back and they have to talk with the heads of the company and whatnot and see can they just empty it. But they said something about it has to do with the tower and the 4 or 6 reservoir where the water is being held. Mm-hmm. So it's more a technical issue than they were able to answer at that time. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's an ongoing process because our thing is to keep Gary history alive, especially the water tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they have a time frame to get back to the commission or anything?
We asked them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we'll see if it happens, We'll just probably have to tag on to Mr. Mount again because he was the main individual talking for the company. Mm-hmm. The others were sort of like just help supporting what he was saying.
Mm-hmm. So it is a private structure, it's not
Yes.
owned by the city, so
Right,
it's private
it is a private
structure.
structure, and it's owned by the Indiana American Water Company. And the Indiana American Water Company, which most Garyites are aware of, at one point, we used to go right down there and pay our bills, but that's not possible anymore because it's not owned by Gary, Indiana, or Gary Water Company. Now it's owned by Indiana American Water Company, which is a company that owns water reservoir all over the United States. So we're
Right.
dealing with a big company here. It's
I
not
think
a-
it's foreign owned.
Yeah, I think it is too.
So
I think
it's that
Dutch-
bad, huh?
Dutch maybe, oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
But you're saying that it's still functioning, the water tower?
Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
realize
Still
that.
functioning, but they don't want to replace it. They want to tear it down and there's not going to be a water tower.
Right, that's
So
the
what
way
you-
So why
we
did they-
The
understood.
purpose of the water tower is pressure. Pump it up and then it gives a pressure out to send the water out. But most of our water doesn't come through the water tower anyway, not my neighborhood, I'm sure.
So I wonder why they
So
even need
do-
it.
they don't need the water tower if they're going to tear it down and not replace it.
Oh, they are replacing it.
I thought you
Okay.
said they were not going to replace it.
Well, they want to tear it down, but they are going to have to replace it with another water tower, which is right across the street. So we're asking them, instead of tearing it down, can you leave the replica? And they said that they could not just leave the replica because it's attached to 4 to 6 other reservoir. They're not water towers. They're like, if I could draw them for you, they're like, they're holding,
Mm.
like the water tower is here, and then connected to it is 6 holding tanks.
And they're underground?
Yeah, and they're in the
You
ground.
can't see them.
Yeah, no, you can't see them, no, but that's, you know.
But
the-
they haven't built a new water tower.
No, they haven't yet, but
So when,
they're in the
so
process.
they would have to, well, it should take a while for them to build it
Yeah,
and
so we got
restructure it.
time, you know, hopefully we have time to try and hold the replica that they hoping to tear down.
Well,
Let me just say that that water tower is a symbol of really Gary.
Yes,
Because it's on a lot of postcards.
yes,
I wish I had my book here so you could see.
I almost brought one, yeah.
And the reason, of course, is because it was the highest thing in Gary
okay,
in the early days. So it was visible from all over the place to see the water tower.
yes,
So that was the symbol
Mhm.
of the development of Gary.
yes.
That's what's important about it,
Mhm.
and not that it would be used for anything.
Right.
And how bad a shape is it in? You say it's crumbling? What do you?
Yeah,
What's
well,
going
they
on?
had pictures, but the pictures that we saw, you will see Harold would make available for the general public. Maybe he can get it up and going earlier than what, you know, because I'm sure these questions are gonna come up. And the presentation was very well presented, but as far as the pictures and whatnot, we did see some decay dealing with where the welding was, and at the bottom, there was some decay with, the concrete. Looking at it on pictures, you really couldn't get an idea of how large the decay was or how widespread it was, so we didn't have a comparison, you know, all we could do was, you know, they could have done this up close and it could be no larger than a couple of feet, you know? And the way it was presented, you're looking at a water tower, so you have no idea as to
Yeah.
the extent of the damage that it's undergoing.
Mhm.
So, yes. No,
Well,
we're
I
in
think-
ongoing struggle.
All right, so I think at this point, if the commission could just, make sure that the, public is alerted if anything else moves. I mean, I'd like to, I imagine that they will get back to the commission about possibility of, draining the water and just keeping the structure there.
Yes.
And then they can build another structure.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what we were
But
hoping,
they-
that's what we
they
had
wanna
heard before
use-
this meeting.
right, but they want to use the same reservoirs, the same
Yes,
tanks?
That's to my
That's the-
understanding.
Right,
Yes.
okay, well, it's all right.
Is Brad Miller involved from Gary Landmarks? I mean, Indiana Landmarks?
Well, he wasn't at the meeting, is that what you're asking?
Does he know what's going on?
He was not at our meeting, is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Well, he should be informed that this is a
Yeah.
problem.
He might be able to help too.
Because it's a well informed, it's a powerful organization
Mhm.
statewide. And
Okay.
Indiana, the water company is statewide, so Indiana Landmarks is funded by major corporations.
Right.
Mhm.
They have a lot of people involved with Landmarks. It's not just a local entity.
Right, right.
And they should be involved with this.
And that's what we were asking them, is that, all right, you're trying to do it here in Gary, what are you doing throughout Indiana? Are you going around tearing down, water tower, not only Indiana, through the nation? What are you doing? Because this company's a big company.
Mhm.
And what did he say? He doesn't know.
No, he's answering to some chiefs, and he's
Mhm.
one of the Indians, what can I,
Yeah.
one of the, he's one of the people, that's trying to do his job and just,
Okay.
Well, I think
Yeah,
Brad should be involved with this. It's the
Would you-
kind of thing he does.
Ron, would you be willing to contact Brad Miller about
Yeah.
that and also the pictorial history?
also
See if
with
they
the,
want- only reason I ask is because I
Yes.
noticed I already assigned myself like 3 things, and I
Okay.
gotta stop
No
doing
problem.
that.
also with the
Okay.
Gary Historic Preservation Commission, we have 4 different single site historic district applications that are in danger right now. The first one, of course, which is brought up, was the water tower.
Mhm.
And the second one is Memorial Auditorium. That's another one that we have been, the third one is St. John's Hospital. And the fourth, to my knowledge, I might be mistaken, is William Wilson Cook's home. It might, I don't think it's that site, I think it's really, the settlement house there on, I think it's 19th or 17th on Washington Street. So we've got 4 different sites that we sat on, and we wanted to prioritize them because they are on the endangered list here in Gary, Indiana, as far as demolition.
Mhm.
And we're trying to save those structures and move as fast as we can with our meetings as far as making the
When is your next meeting?
commissioners.
When is your next meeting?
It's
For
the third Wednesday of the month.
3rd Wednesday, okay.
Yes. Which will be, I can give you the date in a minute. Bam, bam, bam. For the commissioners, it would be. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get that right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No, the commissioners meeting
Mhm.
was the, second Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
And, which was May.
Oh, that was May 8th,
Yeah, so
yeah.
the next one would be, the second Wednesday of the month would be May the 12th.
June the 12th.
June the 12th. There you go. June the 12th.
Okay.
What about other Gary school buildings? Gary school buildings?
Mhm.
Are they high on your list? Horace Mann, well, Emerson certainly.
As a matter of fact,
And
we
I'm
have been
concerned about
telling-
Roosevelt.
Yeah, all of them.
I
All
thought
of
that
them.
one was already a historical landmark.
It is. All of them
Okay.
are. All of them are
Okay.
state and nationally historic.
Okay.
But now we're going local.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
right,
when we do the, when we talk about historic, we have to go in with another ordinance in order to save our structures.
Mhm.
Because the people that are coming up against us are the ones the developers, and they're putting their development in front of history.
Mhm.
So it's an ongoing struggle,
Mhm.
just trying to educate them why we need to keep our structures. And their thing is, but it's an eyesore, the eyes may be sore looking at it, but in time, the commission has only been sitting for 2 years.
Mhm.
In time, hopefully, we will have artifices, or we will have committees, we will have alumni trying to save these structures in whichever way they can. We're not asking them to rebuild
Mhm.
these structures, but we are asking them to try and preserve them. Let's put it that way, because we're preservationists.
So, Patricia, may I ask, with the commission, when you say that you have 4 applications that are in danger, these are sites that the commission has kind of designated
Yes.
that they want to go through the process of having them declared Gary landmarks?
Exactly.
Is that it? Okay.
Exactly, not landmarks.
Not
Gary's historic preservation sites.
Okay, I
Yes.
thought that was,
Landmarks are really just coming under, when you say a landmark, to me, you're just putting up a memorial.
right,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
But to
And you don't need
designate
you don't need a
them-
building to do that, you can just set up a memorial.
So I was looking at the ordinance for the Preservation Commission and trying to decide,
Yes.
trying to understand how, if the commission was able to, had the authority to do anything with regard to the Memorial Auditorium.
Okay.
Action that just happened at the council, and,
And right now, I'm gonna read to you
yeah.
our ram in the bush.
Uh-huh.
The commission, and I think, like you said, we did put Brad to work. And here it states where the commission can provide interim protection.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Under
the
section
interim protection.
111-50 of the ordinance, and that means that the commission would have to hold special meetings abiding by open door law
Mhm.
to recommend the single site historic district to the city council
Mhm.
for a designation. The property would then essentially be under interim protection
Mhm.
between the commission vote and the city council move for that approval with respect to their next meetings.
Yeah, so that's what I was reading, the interim protection, and
Yes.
it looks like, the commission would have to take some steps right now to notify the council.
Yes, which we.
We're planning to do,
yeah,
okay.
because of the meeting, yes.
Okay, all
So we
right.
moved on those 4 structures.
Mhm.
Even one of the commissioners wanted to ask he wanted to add another structure to it. Because we got like over 100 and something structures, that we know that we
Right.
want to preserve.
Mhm.
But we told them, these are endangered, so we
Right
need to
now.
just move on these 4 right now.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Um, There's gonna be a new head of the redevelopment department.
Yes.
That's very important to what you're discussing.
Yes.
So what do you think is going to happen if Van Dyke is gone?
Well, he's already gone,
So who's running the office?
Yes,
Sarah?
it's Mr. Bittner, I don't wanna say his name incorrectly,
Uh-huh.
but
Who is that?
Bittner, Bytner, and he's already in place, and, as far as, and when I did go and ask a few questions dealing with that position, Sarah, that's over, zoning, and
Planning.
it seemed like not only was, their resignation, but there was a split in
Right.
that department.
Right, they,
So I said, what the heck is this?
reorganized the departments,
Yeah, so they're reorganizing,
Oh,
yeah,
which isn't helping us any,
Right.
but
right.
maybe it will. Maybe it'll be to our advantage,
Yeah.
this reorganization. Maybe
Mhm.
Sarah and her group can give more time to us than what they
Mhm.
have in the past.
Right, yes.
Who's Mr. Biden Bittner?
Yes.
Who was he?
He's redevelopment department. He has been appointed by the mayor. He's on board now. He's replacing, Mr. Van Dyke.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't spell the
Who
name
is
the
he?
way I spelled
I
it, because
Is
I
he-
don't have it
has he
right in
been
front of me.
In the administration already? Or is Is he-
I don't think so. I don't
No.
recognize the name.
I don't know. I just know the mayor, it went through the announcements that,
Mhm.
Do you think there'll be any changes in what your commission's doing when a new mayor's in office next year?
no. The commissioners are volunteers and
I don't
they're
mean what you're
doing.
doing, but in terms of the relationship with the mayor, would it be different? Have you talked to Mr. Prince about his interest in preservation or anything?
You know
Have
what,
you
he's
met with
the mayor, Mayor Freeman, the way she put us in that position was because of this committee. Isn't that
Well, I know,
wonderful?
I was
Yes.
the first
Yes,
member.
yes. And when we came aboard, and I'm sure they see it as an advantage, to have the committee sitting here because it's gonna help the citizens have a liaison in between. They don't have to go directly to the mayor, they can come here, which is good. So it's gonna
Yeah.
open up doors that, is helping her to function better.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, you're right, I skipped the Historic Preservation Commission and I went,
Mhm.
but,
Yes.
but is that all for the Preservation Commission?
At this time?
Then we
yes.
go on to the Gary Historic and Cultural Society.
Okay, yes. And what we're doing with the Historic and Cultural Society, we did vote in our last meeting to charge dues to make people feel that they're more connected.
Mhm. But that dues is only $25
Only $25 for the whole
Yeah.
year. And also, they're on board because now they know that not only is it the Gary Historical and Cultural Society, it's the Gary Civic Symphony Orchestra. And they're branching out the symphony orchestra
Mhm.
and to make people aware that they have been in Gary over 30-something years, and they have been active all the time,
Mhm.
even though they only had like I think it was 3 major functions,
Mhm.
but they did many funerals, they did many churches, many other organizations they were active with. So if you weren't in part of those organizations or attend these affairs, you just,
Mhm.
and the one thing I love about them, they're available.
Mhm.
These are top-notch musicians, and they're available, and they are available for funerals.
Mhm.
It's not only the officials that get 2 or
Mhm.
3 musicians to play at the
Mhm.
funeral. All you have to do is ask. I
Mhm.
said, wow, Mr. Michael Carson is the conductor,
Uh-huh.
and he is very unique because he's he's there and he's dedicated to that orchestra.
That's
So
good.
the musicians, usually at the Genesis, that's where you usually see them perform. But as far as, we do have our summer program that we're trying to get open again at St. John Lutheran Church for the children in
Mhm.
order to expose them to higher education and exposing them to the orchestra, exposing them to art, exposing them to the STEM program as a whole.
Mhm. Do you have dates for that, for the summer youth program? Do you have
And
dates
the
already?
date is not in front of me, but it's
Okay.
June the 17th through July the 18th. Don't quote me on those
Mhm.
specific dates. But our thing is, it's the funds to help,
Mhm.
supply the educators for coming in.
Mhm.
We've got Indiana University because of their collaboration that they have going now with the CURE program.
Mhm.
Can I quote it, or should I be looking at a copy of it? It's the Center for Urban,
Regional excellence.
thank you,
Mm.
there you go, CURE program.
Okay.
And that program is supposed to help us as far as
Good.
they're reaching into the community, and we're reaching into the university to combine ourselves as far as hitting the general public.
Mhm.
And I went to one of their listening sessions, and not only was Gary well represented, it was Griffith that was there, and the Griffith Police Force, they were there on board. the DARE program is no more in the states, in most of your states. They have other programs that is more applicable to what the students of today need. So I was glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as far as the Historical Society, they're branching out, trying to make themselves more accessible to the general public. So hopefully, when they do the jazz concert, we will have some input with the jazz and the other concerts that's taking place in our city.
Is the jazz concert sponsored by the Gary Historical and Cultural Society?
No, that's a
Oh, is
separate
that
entity.
the American Jazz or Gary
Yes,
Jazz?
right.
Okay, all right, all right.
What about, we had discussion before about designating the Millender family with a street sign or something. Has that been discussed recently?
No, it has
How to
not.
do that?
No, not at this time. I know we're just trying to work on trying to get that museum open. I would love to see.
We can use the main library if we have things. We can use the main library for some things they've already offered.
Right.
And I know the Decay Devils, were you talking about the museum, you mean the Gary Land Company building,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The Decay Devils painted the Gary Land Company building, which I was
Yes.
really pleased to see. And they did say that they would do another coat on it too. So they're at least doing that much to preserve it. And I think that if we have things, we should, rather than waiting for the land company to open, because that could be quite a while. Because we have to make sure it's structurally sound before
Right.
we can do
Exactly.
anything.
Yes.
So is the Gary Historical and Cultural Society thought about taking some of the artifacts that you have to the main library?
We already have.
You already have?
Yes. Yes. We already have left artifacts with them, and not only with them, we're looking at Indiana University, but of course we had a hold up there because they're under construction.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Mr. McShane is aware,
Yeah.
that we need a place to put items.
I just want to make sure that whatever Naomi Melander and her mother had are
Mhm.
protected
Mhm.
and safe so that they don't get lost or damaged. So that's that's why I was suggesting getting things into the library.
Right, and we have had, it's Benny Simmons and Willa Simmons. They have a school on, what's that street,
25th off of Harrison.
Yeah,
behind.
off of Harrison. Is that
Well,
Guard? What's the name of that school?
it's the Hope Community Center or something. Is that the
Okay.
one?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if they're still occupying that because of some issue concerning the NIPSCO and the accessibility to the entire building.
Okay,
So
I know they're utilizing part of it because,
yeah, she mentioned it.
Okay.
We talked on the phone a few weeks ago, and she said that they had to get out of there because I don't know if they got out permanently or just had to leave at the moment.
I think one part of the structure, they're not able to use it.
That's what it is.
Right, because
Yeah.
they do have, there's a group, shucks, he's a graduate of Emerson High School,
Mhm.
and I can't remember the name of their group, but it's like 20, 30 students that, they go and they dance,
Mhm.
and he holds his troop is there, and they're still utilizing the building, but they're
Okay.
only limited to a certain section of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what's the significance of that then? Is that a place where you're thinking about putting some stuff or?
Well, that is definitely, something that we would consider
Mhm.
because of the availability right now.
Uh-huh, yeah. I mean, is it, like, I don't know what it's called, like climate controlled to make sure that anything we put there would be preserved?
No, it's not that type, it's more of a just big school,
Mhm.
big, you know,
Mhm.
the ceilings are real high.
Right.
There's a certain
right.
amount of climate control going with your ceilings, you know, and then NIPSCO and the water is on, you know, so.
Mhm, mhm.
But as far as it being
Who-
temperature wise, no.
Right.
No.
Do they own it, or who owns it?
Yes.
They own it?
Yes. The structure.
Well, there are two issues. One is exhibiting
Mhm.
items, and the second is the preservation.
Right.
IUN does not exhibit.
Mhm.
Steve's not going to do
No.
that.
No, I don't,
So,
you know, that's.
He's already preserving stuff that was given by Naomi before,
Mhm.
or Dolly originally. But the public library
Yes.
has exhibit space,
Mhm.
and they are secure. The
Mhm.
staff is there, and they are open.
It's
In fact, they're
accessible.
welcoming to have a museum in the building. Is that what you discussed with the librarians?
Yes. Oh, yeah. They've got certain items. We've already.
Are they
given-
exhibiting them?
They
Where
have
are
the,
they?
they have the index, you know, when we get items, they have the index on, and it's a process of, I don't know how soon their staff is gonna get to the material that we donated to them. But,
Are you- But there's still, majority of the artifacts are still in storage?
I
that
can't
correct?
really say in storage, they're in, as far as I know, I'm not sure, I'm not gonna say where it's at right now,
Mhm.
the
No,
majority
you
of
won't say,
artifacts.
Mhm.
but majority of the artifacts are somewhere,
Yes,
and they're gonna be moved from that somewhere
eventually,
to a permanent,
right, location.
okay.
And hopefully it's the land building across the street. That's how come it's so necessary to make sure that that building is solidly safe.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
has to be
Right.
climatized.
Yes.
And
that's,
it has so much,
you know, I often think of that,
Mhm.
because of the artwork that we have over at the studio.
Okay.
And it's not professionally climatized, that requires some type of a heat, an air circulating system
Mhm.
to keep temperatures at an ideal level so that, you know, they don't destroy the material
Right.
of the items on display.
Right.
Mhm.
So that can be.
And that's the big
difficult.
vice when you say temperature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have air conditioning and all
Yes.
of that and heat, but
Right.
it goes beyond that. Whenever I go into the Art Institute, they've got
Mhm.
those meters on the wall, and if
Mhm.
there are too many people,
Mhm.
they might have to cease access
Mhm.
because that will raise the heat
Mhm.
level.
Mhm.
And
That's interesting,
You
yeah.
know, it can just be too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I know when I go into the preservation areas such as the state, when I went down to Fort Wayne and whatnot, and when we go into those type of structures, it's there, but like you said, the temperature has to be at a certain level, and the people that are coming in and whatnot, they ask that they wear gloves, you know, because the material is
Exactly.
really
Mhm.
decayed, you know, so we're dealing with
Yes.
we're dealing with
Mhm.
items that you just don't want people putting their little fingers on all the time. You know,
Mhm.
it's something. Even when I go to the Cayman archives, the gloves are available. You know, for them to handle the papers. Because when you go to the state houses and whatnot, they don't require that.
Mhm.
And usually they'll, you know, because there's a changing of guards, you know, that they're kind of lax when it comes to how to handle that type of material.
Mhm.
And our main concern with the state level is that they hold on to their items, and if they get rid of them, let somebody know, you know, just don't dump them,
Right.
because it means too much to the citizens, you know.
Well,
I don't know if you want to bring up the Picasso.
Well, there's another defeat. The wooden model for the Picasso that's in Daly Center was auctioned by the school city, And apparently, it was sold for about $40,000. It was initially, when they had it on the auction block the first time, it went up to 20,000, and then we were able to stop the auction because they hadn't done the notice requirement correctly, and then, but they, after having a public discussion at Westside, the school determined that they would just sell it anyway. So Peter Marikas was at the last First District Community Meeting, and he said the proceeds from the sale of that will go to art supplies, musical instruments, that kind of thing, for the middle school students. But it's another piece of our history that's gone. So I'm, you know,
Did he discuss the art in Chicago,
no,
the school art?
no.
Apparently, there's a collection of about 120 paintings that used to be in the Gary schools that are now stored in Chicago. Mr. Marikas says that they will not be selling that collection. Where it's going to go, we're not sure. There's some possibilities. But we're working on that.
Are these noted artists?
Some are, yes. Some are worth a lot of money.
And some are regional artists whose work are just a part of that collection, or local?
Some is
artists?
regional art, yes, but they're national artists.
Okay.
Oh, do you know what this was about, why they have this stuff?
No.
Well, when the Gary schools were first invented by William A. Wirt, he wanted to have an uplift for the students. He didn't like cities, and he thought cities were corrupt and everything. So he wanted to enlighten the students. So you bring in fine art and line the hallways of the schools with fine art to influence the students. The major collection was at Emerson School, but all the schools, the early school, large school buildings, had paintings on the walls. Most of this stuff has disappeared, but about 120 or so of the artworks wound up in storage in Chicago. And we have a list of what's there.
And they are protected, climate control,
Okay.
everything. So, and some of them are already pretty well damaged, so they may not, you know, some of them need to be restored, I understand, but you're right. Peter Marikas said that they were not thinking about selling those.
That's good.
But where's they pay for rental, storage in Chicago. So we're looking at where the art can go. Now, we want to bring it back, at least to the region somewhere. And then display some of the artwork.
Sure.
But it's all kind of stalled at this point.
Yeah, my studio isn't large enough for that, and I have to do some structural repairs. But I'm also looking at expanding because I own properties next door to the studio, and so
Well, what's your address?
4760 Broadway.
Oh.
It's really three property, 3 lots, and they sold it to me as a package.
Okay.
So I will, I'm looking at the prospect of having an art gallery, because there isn't one in Gary. But there's a building adjacent that is sitting there, and the owner is not relinquishing her grip on it. And it's been a dumping ground for which I've had to make numerous calls, and of late, it has been removed, the dumping that is, but I try to keep the building clean. Some have tagged it with graffiti, and, but I think it's because they know it's vacant, because my building is all white, not a graffiti market all of it. So, I'm looking at that as a prospect, because we just don't have,
Yeah.
and we need it.
Well,
Interesting.
you're just a few blocks from the campus.
Yes,
Are you in touch with the art department at IUN?
when I need to be.
Lauren Pacheco?
No, I'm not new.
She's the one.
She.
She's new.
Okay, sure.
Relatively.
Yes, this past year. And she's the one who's working on Gary and exhibiting things in Gary, not just on campus, where there are 2 galleries, but there are some other possibilities in Gary as well
Okay.
that I've talked to Lauren about. But she is very involved in recognizing artists in Gary
Mm-hmm.
and connecting with the community. She lives in Gary, so
Okay.
in the past, most of the faculty have not lived in Gary, but she does,
That's good.
and is very involved with art in Gary.
That's good.
She's a
Okay.
muralist and so forth.
Sure.
Done murals in Chicago.
Great. I've just
But you should
moved
talk to
here.
Lauren
Yeah.
Pacheco.
I just moved here.
Oh, you
so-
did?
Yeah, I just
Good.
moved here, maybe a year, maybe a year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Call Lauren Pacheco's her name,
Yeah.
Pacheco.
okay.
She should know what you're doing down the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're only 6 blocks
Yeah,
away.
she'd be a great connection too. All right, and I might have, well, you can get her through IUN. I was gonna say I might have a phone number, but it's probably faster.
I have it, but not with me.
Get her through.
And also, I have a piece that when you mentioned about the library,
Mm-hmm.
I have a piece that my students did when I was art instructor at Roosevelt.
Uh-huh.
And it's a mural
Uh-huh.
that we did it on canvas, and it was done right after Michael Jackson died. And they also had me over the what is it, the school newsletter
Mhm.
at the high school. But on this particular day, Spike Lee was in town filming the last video for Michael Jackson.
Oh
This
my
is it.
God.
And on that day, I took the class, very small class of maybe 7 students.
Uh-huh.
We went out, I said, grab your coats, we're gonna go and interview Spike Lee. So we did a short interview of Spike Lee. And after that, I came up with this idea, I said, how about doing a mural? Because everybody loved Michael Jackson,
Mhm.
and they, excited to see Spike Lee. So we spent a few months looking at various films of Spike Lee,
Mhm.
developing the concept for a mural.
Mhm.
So the kids had a chance to do that, and they finished it. So it's got a big picture of Michael Jackson,
Mhm.
Spike Lee, some of the films that he did. It's got Michael dancing throughout the mural, and it's got his white glove with the rhinestones and
Uh-huh.
things on it.
Mhm.
So I've been able to preserve it.
Oh, good.
I've not. It's been rolled up.
Uh-huh.
So at this point, I want to put it on a stretcher so
Yeah.
that it can be exhibited. It's about 13 to 15 feet long and about 5 feet tall.
Well, there.
So yeah, I think it would be a great asset. I haven't done anything with it. I haven't hung it in my
Mhm.
studio because we had a lot of children's work up throughout the space.
Mhm.
And so I've just preserved it.
Mhm.
I have done some other things, larger pieces, that when the school lost to the state,
Mhm.
the work went with it. So
Mhm.
I
That
know-
would be a good idea to contact the library, Maria Strimbu,
Yes.
because that's who we talked to, and she was very receptive to having more
Right.
art
Murals.
and artifacts and that kind of thing in the library, so that would be good.
I know my niece, she came into an inheritance of masked art, paper masked art. And when she came into that inheritance about 5 years ago, she has displayed it at the county library. And I said, okay, when do we get it? Now that we've got our
Yeah.
library open.
oh,
It's-
that would be nice.
It's been
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been there now for a couple of months.
Oh,
It's,
good.
yeah, it's on the main, as you walk into the library in the back area,
Mhm.
and it's in the showcase, and there's
Mhm.
like maybe 5 different, I probably could show it to you on this, there's 5 different masks in it, and through the inheritance of her uncle. His name is Charles Buggs. He lived in Alaska and he was
Mhm.
exposed to this type of art and he did it. Wrote a couple
That's
books with
cool.
it too. I
Very
said,
cool.
wow. I'll share it with you after
Okay.
this
Sure.
meeting.
Sure.
Oh, I'm gonna keep the meeting moving here, because we're quarter after
Okay.
7, and we need to finish up here.
Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is, I have other business and comments from the committee, but then I put a couple of subgroups down there. History is Alive. I had in my notes from last time that we had a date for History is Alive, but
Yes.
I couldn't, one part said that it was the fourth Saturday in August, and then the next part said
Oh.
that it was the third
I
Saturday
have
in
the
July.
last Saturday in August from 1 to 3.
Oh,
Okay,
That's what I had. You said-
fourth Saturday in August.
Yes, that's the
1 to
last.
3,
Yeah,
okay.
uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm gonna, my notes were just not good on that, so, and what is the date there? Do you have that?
I don't know.
Okay,
Can you
that's all
find the date?
Fourth
Fourth
Saturday in
Saturday in
August.
August.
Saturday, August, and that was 1 to 3 p.m. We are gonna have to start deciding what we're gonna do, maybe Desiree,
August,
maybe
the
you
fourth
have
Saturday,
idea.
1, 2, 3, 4, the 24th.
24th, Saturday,
Yes.
August 24.
Yes.
1 to 3, okay. I'm just gonna leave it at that for right now, but we do need to, maybe get a subcommittee or something so that we can start to figure out what we're gonna do and
Right.
how we're gonna do it.
Right.
8/24. And then,
I'm gonna give that to the Gary Historical and Cultural Society.
Okay.
And
and
that
see
way.
if they have any suggestions of what we could do. That
We
would
could
be
really
good.
like base it on what we've done in the past, you know,
Mhm.
we brought genealogists on board,
Yeah.
you know, and they gave their family history and that's always so inviting.
It is, yeah.
To the general public.
It's really interesting. I think that would be good.
And hopefully we'll get it's hard to let the students participate because
Right.
the schools are not
Yeah,
enjoying
this
that
is the
time.
last week of the summer.
That's their,
You
yeah,
know.
they're
We
like,
can figure
they're
out a
like-
way to pull those students.
Yeah. All right, and then, Desiree, did you have something that you'd like to add or report? or-
No, I do not have exact dates for our summer program because I have to leave for half of the month of June.
Mm,
And I've had to just completely rearrange all of my calendars, so
okay,
I was working on our website today, but I have to get confirmation for a couple of other things, and some classes that I'm teaching and classes that I'm taking.
okay,
And then I will be able to plug those in.
okay. All right. Well, the only other thing that I wanted to, that I had on the agenda was, a change in leadership and meeting times. And many of you know that I was, not reelected, to my city council seat. And I have been the only Art, Culture, and History Committee chair, for the 4 years that I've been on the city council. So I don't know how that's going to, I'll be here through 2019. And then in January of 2020, then that's when the change will be. But because of that, I thought that we should, if we're going to make the most of what time I have left, if we could meet like every month, just to finalize, get as much done as we can before I leave.
Okay.
So that's why I said change in leadership and the meeting times. So we are May 13th. Can we meet in the middle of June? Take it off.
I think I'll be here through that 17th or so.
Okay.
While you're doing that, just make announcement, there's gonna be a major exhibit at the public library on 5th, next January, on Lake County history.
Oh, okay.
It's organized by a group called the Calumet, I forgot the name of the group.
Heritage.
But it's tied in with the Field Museum in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And so they're working with people from various historical societies and libraries in Lake County to, well, they're gonna focus various themes about the history of Lake County, the environment, and all kinds of sports, and all kinds of stuff. So, I've been involved with that somewhat, to come up with artifacts, based upon these themes that they've outlined. And then some of this material will be going to the Field Museum for an exhibit there.
Okay.
There are 3 different areas. One is Pullman in
Yes.
Illinois, Lake County, and Porter County.
Okay.
So there are 3 different exhibits and concepts. So here, they've been discussing for some time what the themes are for Lake County, including Cedar Lake and Whiting and Hammond and Gary and everything else. Crown Point, focus on those. So that'll be on the 2nd floor of the library, opening in January at some point. It'll be up for a couple of months.
Okay.
And there's probably some material in the Millender collection.
2020.
Are you, yes. I don't know if you're in touch with the people who are doing this, but they always meet in Gary at the public library, but there was a meeting this week in Cedar Lake, I think. I didn't go to that one.
I'm not familiar with that group, but I am familiar with the Film Museum as far as trying to bring back the mammoth butterfly. And one of the scientists came into Gary, Indiana. It was probably 5 of them that came up in and presented. And it's really connected with the Federation of Block Clubs. And I think that'll be our liaison, because they've already established, that Film Museum group. They're already established with them. And that would be a good thing to let them, I'll try to make,
Well, it's a different group at the museum that's doing these exhibits.
okay, all right.
It's nothing to do with.
But you said
the
environmental.
19.
Well, it's
They're
more
talking
this.
about the plants, because they even had us
No,
planting vegetation.
no, that's not
and
what this is
whatnot.
about.
Okay.
The history.
Yes,
This is a history exhibit.
yes, yeah.
I'm sure the natural environment will be part of it, but no, that, we haven't discussed that.
Okay,
It's
yeah, that's a big thing
industry,
in this area.
tourism,
Okay,
whatever, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah,
That's what they're looking to
okay.
exhibit.
Yeah, because Gary, Indiana is a primitive beach area. It was declared that, boom, National Lake Shore, that's why they're here.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
just a big
exciting.
thing for the United States
Oh,
of
naturally,
America.
yes, absolutely.
Yes,
This is
yeah.
the start of,
Exactly, those
Ecological.
primitive beaches, and we got them rolling, they're still there. And because I have to give credit to my mother, back in 1950s and 60s, Mary Louise Hayes sat on the national, it was dealing with the libraries, that they were able to come and do this and make it National Lake Shore. And at this time, because of her civil rights work coming out of little old East Chicago, Indiana, I was interviewed by Ball State University, and I gave them quite a bit of my mother's history.
Okay, good.
And they're going into oral history, and they have
Right.
digitized it.
Oh,
And they
that's
have
great.
several, I gave them probably a list of 50 different people from Gary, Indiana, for them to interview them also, adding to this history. So yeah, the universities, it's a good thing, because
Yeah.
when they're on board, you got top-notch graduate students trying
Right.
to make their grades, you know?
That's great.
Isn't that
That's
wonderful?
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just figured out, the meeting time for, if we wanna meet, next month, it would be June 17th. And that would be at 6 PM. That should be like the third Monday.
Okay, you didn't want to go with the, a Monday, okay.
Yeah, because I always have
17th,
council
1, 2,
meetings
3.
on Tuesday.
Okay.
And then I got July 22nd, and August 19th.
You didn't want to stick to to the second Monday?
You wanna do, is second Monday better for you?
That's the 10th?
I know I'm not gonna be here on the 22nd, because I'll be in DC. I know I'll be there teaching.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting. You prefer to move it up from the 17th, to just go to, with June 10th?
What day is it you said you were not available?
If this is a Monday, I think
Yes.
I'll be out the rest of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 22nd, I'll have to see. I didn't bring my calendar.
Well, would
So you'll
June
be
10th
gone.
work better for you than June 17th?
No, the
The
10th,
10th.
Yeah, would that work better than the 17th?
that may be better.
Okay, let's make it the June 10th at 6 PM, and then we'll figure out the other dates later,
Sounds
okay?
good. Yes.
All right, well,
Good to go.
a nice long meeting, but thank you all for sticking with it.
Thank you.
And we got some good information out, and we will
Yes.
continue on.
Wonderful.
I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.